So what is Artifact? Hi folks, I am Divok from Project 65 and welcome to our introduction to Artifact. Broadly speaking, Artifact is an online trading card game, but that itself might be enough to confuse some people. When you think online card game, you think about the collectible card games, such as Hearthstone or Gwent, and when you think of trading card game, you might think of Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh's paper formats, where you'd go to your local store, buy some cards, and if you didn't want them, you could swap them with other players for cards you did want. So how does that work in an online environment? Well, games have tried and failed to pull this off before, but Artifact isn't just a TCG. Oh no, Artifact is a Valve TCG. That means they have full access to the wonders of the Steam marketplace. In Artifact, if you wish to trade a card, you sell it on the marketplace and use that money to buy another card. You can even use that money to buy anything else on Steam, but let's stick to Artifact for today. So you buy and sell cards on the Steam marketplace. That's a cool concept, sure. But that doesn't make it strictly a better card game, does it? That particular genre is a little saturated these days, if not only because there is one game with a rather large monopoly over the population. Well, Artifact certainly makes sure no one would dare call it a clone of that particular monopoly, Hearthstone, or any other card game for that matter. The closest Artifact gets to another card game is probably Magic the Gathering. It's borrowed a lot of its mechanics, thankfully land not being one of them, from Magic, as they share the same creator, Dr Richard Garfield. Garfield has taken his years of experience with everything he did right and wrong with Magic the Gathering, as well as the huge number of other games he's spearheaded since, and brought it to Artifact. The result is a beautifully complex chess game you play as you try to outwit your opponent at every turn. One thing is for sure in Artifact, no game is ever lost. You will be sitting on the edge of your chair as you try to close out a game you've played so well because you understand that just one mistake can lead you down a rabbit hole of issues. Of course, the flip side being that even if you're behind, you can hold on to that faint scent of hope that you might just be able to con your opponent into playing the wrong card at the wrong time, and the game will swing into your favour. So that is how Artifact is different to its counterparts at a game philosophy level. But what about the game itself? How is that actually different? While I won't get into exactly how to play Artifact in this video, there are a few key areas I want to explain to show just how innovative the game is. As you might know, Artifact is the Dota 2 card game, meaning it's based loosely on Valve's MOBA title Dota 2, in which two teams of 5 players pick heroes to battle against one another in a race to destroy the enemy team's ancient. The map of Dota is comprised of 3 lanes of defensive towers, barracks which spawn creeps to defend the lane, and the ancient itself in the heart of your base. So in turn, Artifact is split into 3 boards, each board with a tower on it, which works like the face of your enemy, and this is where their health is, and creeps constantly spawn in those lanes to defend them. But a game of Dota isn't simply won by destroying one tower. So in Artifact, you also need to defeat the enemy on 2 separate boards, splitting your resources, or defeat the enemy twice in the same lane, while desperately trying to hold on to your other lanes so that you don't lose yourself. Even from this very base level, the only game that comes close to a similarity with recent success is the Elder Scrolls Legends, where you play units over 2 lanes. But there is still 1 total health pool, and you typically want to fight for both lanes. Whereas in Artifact, the battlefield is yours to scheme for. You can decide to give up one lane to push the advantages in others, or spread your resources more thinly. It really is at the crossroads of a card game and military strategy. There are so many differences to point out with Artifact, but there is one more key one to understand. And it's why I introduced this section talking about its homage to Dota 2. An Artifact deck isn't simply based around a class with set cards, but instead 5 heroes which each belong to one of 4 colours, and each colour has its own set of cards. This allows you to mix and match not only your colour combinations, but also heroes, and there is nothing at all stopping you from picking all 4 of the colours. You just might struggle with a bit of efficiency. This adds another layer to the strategy game analogy being made of Artifact. These 5 heroes are your commanders. They decide where you can deploy your resources on the battlefield, and have powerful stats or effects of their own, and have a drastic effect on how your deck will play out. If you enjoy hero-based games, this is like a tabletop version one, where you play as one entire team of said heroes, so it might just be the next game you want to pick up. This is all well and good. Yes, Artifact is a fantastic melody of online trading card game meets grand strategy commander of magical and mystical heroes. But what do you actually do in the game? Well, there are currently 2 types of game, constructed and draft. Constructed is as you might expect. You build a deck out of cards you own, planning carefully your win conditions and synergies. Then you queue up for a game, or an entire gauntlet of games, to be matched up against someone else who has planned out the perfect deck. You then battle with those cards, and the victor walks away knowing that with all the options laid out in front of him, or her, that they overcame the obstacles to show they were the true strategic mastermind. Draft is ever so slightly different though, and we'll be posting our draft guide on this channel soon, so take a look at that if this doesn't quite explain it enough for your liking. In a draft game, before you battle, you have to build the deck out of a number of relatively random card packs, picking what cards you think synergize the best with what you've already picked. Then, after, you build a deck using only the 60 cards shown to you during this phase. That might sound easy, but each time you pick cards, the next pack you're shown are missing more cards, as real players have already taken some cards from that pack, meaning that as the draft progresses, you will see fewer good cards, as they would have been taken by your opponents, and you'll have to be creative in your choices. So after you walk away from your draft game having won, you can feel secure in the knowledge that you were the most versatile and resourceful player there. These types of game, draft and constructed, persist across all of Artifact's game modes, be it casual one-off games or ticket-gated gauntlets. However, my favourite way to play, for a multitude of reasons, is a tournament feature. Artifact may have struggled with a couple of things since launch, but for me the tournament system will always be an incredibly redeeming feature. From day one, we have been able to create custom community tournaments with a fantastic user interface and feature behind it to make things incredibly easy. No third-party brackets required, no sign-ups required, everything for a tournament can be done in-game. This was to encourage the type of card game shenanigans we experienced as kids, gathering around a table or around the flattest rock you could find in the schoolyard to play a paper TCG with your friends. Well, now you can recreate that friendly rivalry in Artifact, even if they live the other side of the world these days. While this was a lovely sentiment, whether Valve knew it or not, they had just provided something groundbreaking though. Before the game was even live, at least 2 community tournaments had been organised, one of which I created myself, although it wasn't just a tournament, it was hundreds of tournaments. Valve's incredible in-game tournament system meant that as an organiser, I could spend my time managing an entire league of tournaments and let the game do the rest. That gave birth to the Artifact Open Circuit, or AOC, a whole series of tournaments in which you earn points towards a leaderboard. At the end of the month, the top players on that leaderboard enter a grand final to win the prize money for that month. I originally gave the Artifact Open Circuit the moniker of the Artifact Path to Pro, as I hoped that by gaining some experience and maybe by using my channel, I would be able to promote the players to a point where they could compete in pro tournaments. But when I gave it that name, I wasn't sure if the circuit would even take off. Since then, we've added 4 new managers who help run the entire circuit, a whole spectrum of tournament admins who run the tournaments themselves, and have had over 2,000 players join up, and have seen 2 of our players make the top 8 of a tournament for $5,000. I couldn't be more proud of all the people involved. So if you want a competitive environment, or you even just want to learn the ropes from people that really do know this game, the AOC, Artifact's Path to Pro, is here for you. I'll drop a link to their Discord in the description below. While the AOC is what I, Divok, primarily does with Artifact itself, that isn't what Project 65 will have to do with it. I've covered Artifact news and guides from way back in the early April of 2018, 6 months plus prior to its release, and that is exactly what I intend to keep on doing. I set out to be able to create an environment that people interested in Artifact could come and be in the loop. Whether they were current players, prospective ones, or even retired ones, I wanted to be able to give them a home. One singular channel they could come to and be content that they knew what was happening to the world of Artifact. And that isn't going to change. However, I certainly haven't progressed enough as a player myself to be giving constructive feedback on your games, or doing high-level guides. However, I do have a platform for such things, so if I don't have any news or guides to share, I will be looking to high-caliber players to share their opinions, or help me form my own, on how to play the game, the relative strength of cards, and to teach us all a thing or two about Artifact. So that was Artifact. If you enjoy the content, please do like and subscribe as it really helps the channel out. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter @div0k so you never miss another video. I've been Divok of Project 65, and I will see you next time.